In 2006, we erased Pluto from the list of planets. After 76 years, the world that generations had grown up calling the ninth planet was suddenly given a new name, dwarf planet. To many, it seemed like little more than a frozen rock, drifting aimlessly beyond Neptune. Too small, too distant, too insignificant. And so, we believed its story had come to an end. But while the debate continued here on Earth, a lone spacecraft was racing toward the edge of the solar system. For nearly a decade, it crossed billions of kilometers through the darkness toward a world no human had ever seen up close. What waited there was not the lifeless wasteland we had imagined. Instead, our first close look revealed a landscape unlike anything else in the solar system. Towering mountains made of ice, glaciers flowing across the surface, a thin blue atmosphere glowing beneath the distant sun, and at its center a giant heart. Pluto had spent decades dismissed as a relic of the past. But the closer we looked, the stranger it became. Sometimes, the worlds we understand the least are the ones we judge the fastest. Reaching Pluto was never going to be easy, even traveling faster than any spacecraft before it. NASA's New Horizons mission needed more than 9 years to arrive. As it left the inner solar system behind, the familiar planets slowly disappeared. The warmth of the sun faded. Its brilliant light, once powerful enough to illuminate entire worlds, became just another bright star in an ocean of darkness. By the time New Horizons reached Pluto, it was nearly 6 billion kilometers from Earth, so far away that every command sent to the spacecraft needed more than 4 hours to arrive. Even sunlight, traveling at nearly 300,000 kilometers every second, takes over 5 hours to reach Pluto. Standing on its frozen surface, the sky would never turn blue. Even at midday, space remains black. The sun still shines, but only as a brilliant point of light barely bright enough to cast long, faint shadows across a world locked in perpetual winter. At the edge of the solar system, daylight begins to feel more like starlight. For almost a century, Pluto remained little more than a blurry point of light. Even the most powerful telescopes could reveal almost nothing about its surface. Scientists could only imagine what might be waiting there. Then, on the 14th of July 2015, everything changed. As New Horizons sped past Pluto, the first detailed images finally arrived on Earth. What appeared on computer screens around the world was something no one had expected. Stretching across the surface was a vast, bright feature shaped almost perfectly like a heart. It quickly became the most famous landmark ever discovered on another world. But this was no symbol. It was a window into Pluto's hidden past. Scientists named it Sputnik Planitia, an enormous basin nearly 1,500 kilometers across, filled not with rock, but with frozen nitrogen, methane, and carbon monoxide. A glacier unlike anything found on Earth. Yet the greatest surprise was not what it was made of. It was the simple fact that it was still changing. For a world so small and so unimaginably cold, Pluto should have been geologically silent. Its surface should have been covered with billions of years of impact craters. A frozen relic unchanged since the birth of the solar system. Instead, Sputnik Planitia told a very different story. The vast nitrogen glacier is divided into enormous polygon-shaped cells, each stretching tens of kilometers across. These patterns reveal something remarkable. The ice is slowly moving. Deep below the surface, a small amount of heat still escapes from Pluto's interior. Not enough to melt the ice, but enough to make the frozen nitrogen circulate over immense periods of time. The process is almost impossible to notice. It unfolds over hundreds of thousands of years. Yet, as the glacier slowly overturns itself, it erases the scars left behind by ancient impacts. In one of the coldest places in the solar system, Pluto is still reshaping its own surface. A world we believed had long since died is quietly proving that it is still alive. The surprises did not end at Pluto's heart. Along the edge of Sputnik Planitia, towering mountains rise more than 3 kilometers above the surrounding plains. On Earth, mountains are built from rock, But on Pluto, rock lies buried deep beneath the surface. Here, the mountains are made almost entirely of water, ice, at temperatures approaching minus 230 degrees Celsius. Ordinary ice becomes as hard as solid rock, strong enough to support entire mountain ranges. Some of these icy peaks appear to have broken away from the surrounding landscape because water ice is less dense than the frozen nitrogen filling Sputnik Planitia. They can slowly drift across the glacier like enormous icebergs on a frozen sea. Above them, another strange process unfolds. Sunlight, though incredibly faint, reacts with methane high in Pluto's atmosphere. Over time, it creates complex organic molecules called tholins. These particles slowly settle onto the landscape, staining the icy peaks with a deep reddish color. A world once imagined as plain and lifeless revealed itself to be astonishingly diverse, and yet its greatest mystery still lay hidden beneath the ice. The surface of Pluto is extraordinary, but its greatest secret may lie far below it. When scientists studied Sputnik Planitia, they noticed something unusual. The massive basin sits almost exactly opposite the direction it should. Over billions of years, the weight of so much frozen nitrogen should have caused Pluto to slowly roll over, yet somehow it remained remarkably stable. One possible explanation lies beneath the crust itself. Hidden below hundreds of kilometers of ice, there may still be an ocean of liquid water kept from freezing, not by sunlight, but by the immense pressure above and the last traces of heat left deep within Pluto's rocky interior. If this hidden ocean truly exists, it has likely remained sealed away for billions of years, completely dark, completely silent. One of the most isolated bodies of liquid water in the solar system. We do not know whether anything has ever existed there. But every place we discover, the liquid water becomes another place where science begins asking the same question. Could it ever have supported life? For now, Pluto keeps the answer buried beneath its frozen shell. Pluto is rarely alone. Orbiting beside it is a moon unlike any other. Charon. It is so large compared to Pluto that calling it simply a moon hardly seems fair. Together, they form one of the most unusual planetary systems ever discovered, rather than Pluto sitting motionless while Charon circles around it. Both worlds orbit a shared center of gravity, a point floating in empty space between them. In many ways, they behave more like a double world than a planet and its satellite. They are also tidally locked. If you stood on the side of Pluto facing Charon, the giant moon would never move across the sky. It would hang in exactly the same place day after day, year after year. Cross to the opposite side of Pluto, and you would never see Charon at all. Two worlds, forever facing one another, bound together by gravity at the edge of the solar system. Charon is only the beginning around this distant pair. Four much smaller moons continue their silent dance: Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. Unlike the large moons orbiting the giant planets, these tiny worlds refuse to behave predictably. Their rotations constantly change. They tumble through space, spinning in ways that even surprised astronomers. Charon itself carries another mystery. Near its north pole lies a vast dark region known as Mordor Macula. Its deep red color did not form from within. Instead, it began on Pluto. Tiny amounts of methane escape from Pluto's atmosphere, drifting across space before freezing onto Charon's surface. There, radiation from the distant sun slowly transforms the ice into reddish organic compounds. Even separated by nearly 20,000 kilometers, the two worlds continue exchanging material. A quiet reminder that even here at the frozen frontier of the solar system, nothing exists in complete isolation. In 2006, Pluto changed forever, not because the world itself had changed, but because our definition of a planet had. The debate continues even today. Some believe Pluto should once again be counted among the planets. Others argue that the current definition better reflects what we have discovered about the solar system. But labels have never changed reality. Long before humans gave Pluto a name, it was already there. orbiting the Sun every 248 years, beneath a sky of endless stars. A world with drifting glaciers, towering mountains of ice, a delicate blue atmosphere, and perhaps an ancient ocean hidden beneath its frozen crust. New horizons reminded us of something profound the farther we travel. The stranger our solar system becomes. Pluto was never just a distant point of light. It was a world waiting to surprise us, and perhaps that is the greatest lesson it has to offer. The universe rarely becomes less mysterious when we look closer, it becomes more extraordinary. Far beyond Neptune, Pluto marks the beginning of a vast frozen frontier known as the Kuiper Belt. But if we journey inward once more, toward the warmth of the sun, another giant waits, a world wrapped in deep blue clouds where winds race faster than the speed of sound, and storms have endured for longer than human civilization itself. That world is Neptune, but that is a story for another time. Until then, keep looking up and stay curious.